Hello, and we are live. God, that was a struggle, wasn't it? Fulham succumbing to Burnley in a 3-0 loss in the FA Cup fourth round. And it was just a horrible game start to finish, to be honest. Welcome to Full-Time Live. I don't suppose there's going to be many people wanting to watch us chew the fat over this game, but I'm joined by George Singer.
Hi, mate.
And I'm joined by Joe Sampson. How you doing, fellas?
Hello. Oh, well,
George, how are we feeling after
great.
that in a nutshell?
I was really looking forward to this. Actually, when this came up, I came into the game feeling optimistic. Like none of us really needed a cup run, but home draw against Burnley, it couldn't have really fallen any nicely for us. And I was really looking forward to the game and really optimistic. But man, have I been let down.
I mean, it wasn't, let's be honest, it wasn't the most glamorous of ties. And it kind of ties into the point that I've been trying to make is that the FA Cup without fans being able to go just seems like a bit of a pointless exercise. And if it's down to me, I'd say just cancel cup competitions whilst this pandemic's going on. There's already a really clogged up fixture list with cancellations because of coronavirus cases, everything. It's already dense. Why not postpone it, wait until fans can get in? But anyway, that's not really the point. But we had 8 changes for Fulham. So we had starts for Mitrovic, Onuma, Lamina, Ream, Hector, Rodak, Kamara, Decadova Reed. So I thought when I saw the team sheet, it was quite a strong team to start off with. George, any sort of surprises there, given the importance of the game against Brighton on Wednesday?
Yeah, I mean, I think it, again, I agreed with you at first. You look at the team sheet and it looks fairly strong at the start. And a lot of the players in the side are the ones who got us up, thinking of Brian and Ream and Hector. And you thought they would have more than enough for a Burnley side, which, again, near the bottom of the league like us, and they rung the changes a bit as well. But then as the match went on, and I'm sure we'll dissect further, the players that came in did look so out of shape. Hector in particular had a really torrid game, looked miles off the pace, and I don't quite know what's happened to him. When he joined us, how long was it ago? Kind of 6 months, a year ago. For the first few games, he looked absolutely unstoppable, but I don't know what happened to him over lockdown, because ever since he's looked miles off the pace, and we saw that again today.
I couldn't agree more. To think that it wasn't that long ago that we were dubbing him Virgil van Mike, and how long ago does that seem? I mean, Joe, let's not beat around the bush. Our defence were shocking today, and I hate to say it, as I love Ream, and I want to see Hector do well and show sort of shades of his form that he showed last year. But I mean, it was just sloppy. It really was. And does today highlight our defensive display? Does it highlight the need to reinforce those areas? Because we were against a Burnley side that was slightly softened as to what we'd expect them to play in the Premier League. And if Tosin or Anderson get an injury, then we could really be in some issues. Do you think we need to reinforce?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we're struggling enough to get a striker in, so I think trying to get someone else in might be a bit of a struggle as well. But it just took me right back to the Villa game, to the Arsenal game, Leeds game, just how much we struggled. And I was just thinking, imagine if we hadn't got Tosin or Anderson in on deadline day. I mean, I dread to think what our goals against record would be like now.
I mean, it was just a sloppy performance all round, to be honest. And George, it was a horrible first half. He had Stevens and Cork absolutely bossing it in the midfield.
Sorry, my internet cut out. My bad.
No worries, mate. It happens to the best of us. Believe me, I've been there. Don't you worry for 1 second, son. It's absolutely fine. But I was just saying that, George, it was a horrible first half display, and Stevens and Cork bossing it in the middle of the park. It seemed like every single battle, whether it be up front, defensively, in midfield, we were just losing. We were second best, and so many sloppy errors, misplaced passes. Do you think that was? Do you think that was because we just weren't up for it today? Do you think the players just, it didn't want it as much as those Burnley boys did?
It felt like, I mean, you're bang on for me, that how we lost a midfield battle where we've got 3 midfielders and their midfield pairing is Dale Stevens and Jack Cork, who are Premier League journeymen at best. It was just a terrible midfield performance. I think it was different for each player. I think Anguissa looked exhausted. Really, no idea why he played. There was no real need for him to play. He looked tired at the end of the previous match, so why he played, why he started today was beyond me. Lamina looked like he couldn't really care less. Assuming there's no smoke without fire, that we're hearing rumours of him maybe moving on, so that's probably impacted his drive somewhat. And Onoma, who for a central midfielder, like how often do you have a central midfielder who seems absent throughout the game? Like, I really don't know what he did. I mean, I was trying to look back, and it looked like perhaps he was playing a bit of a holding role of maybe behind Lamina and Anguissa, but I just don't remember him doing a thing. And for the kind of player who's trying desperately to get back into the 25-man squad, he'll probably struggle to get back into the squad. So he's got, so much on the line. And for him to put a performance out with that much anonymity, it was ridiculous. And when you lose the midfield battle, everything else crumbles. The defence find it much harder. The attack gets starved. So for me, the core of losing that midfield battle was the main reason why we came, significantly second best today.
It's a tough one, really, because you have the argument: do you field a really, a proper B team, sort of under 23s side, and then face criticism for not taking it seriously, or do you face a slightly stronger team, maybe look to get some of your sort of fringe players a few minutes and try and get some game time under their belt? But was there any positives for today, would you say, Joe? Can you think of anything?
Well, I'm normally quite positive, but I guess fixture congestion is not going to be as much of an issue now. That's probably it. Fabio Carvalho came on, which I was happy to see. I mean, he didn't really have a chance to do much because it was right at the end. And I think that's literally it. I think those are the positives, and that it's done, because that was awful. But I was even shocked at half time when the stats came up and it said that we'd had a shot. I was just trying to remember when that shot even was. I was one shot off target. When? I still can't remember it now.
I mean, I think the offside goal of Mitrovic wouldn't have counted for that stat. I can't think off the top of my head.
Was it Onoma snatched at a shot? I think there was a shot which got deflected, and then Onoma had a decent. It was early on. But yeah, considering like we're barely remembering that single shot, that just shows how awful, like one of the worst halves of football we've seen from this Fulham side in a long time.
It certainly was, and it was strange because I think most of us expected Mitrovic to play this game just because we want to, see him get some minutes and try and regain a bit of form. So he played 90 minutes today alongside Abubakar Kamara. Do you think that their performance as a pairing today gave them any shout of them both starting against Brighton on Wednesday, George? Or do you think we're going to see Caballero and Bobby Declan-Reid reintroduced?
Honestly, no. I think they were both. I guess let's start with Mitrovic. He was. I spoke earlier about Onoma being absent during the game. Mitrovic had barely anything to do. Like throughout the game, I try and kind of take notes when I know things are coming up, and all I had for Mitrovic was that disallowed goal, and then I think, did he get a yellow card near the end? And that was it. Like when he got the yellow card and he came back on screen, I was thinking, oh yeah, Mitrovic is on the pitch. And for a player who's again trying to get back into the squad, like I thought he was. Partly it's him getting starved of possession, but he did so little, and he's done nothing to warrant getting back in the side. I'm no real fan of Caballero, and I know that there's lots of I'm not alone in that. But honestly, if I had to pick between the two from today's showing, I'd probably stick with Caballero.
I think that's a fairly valid point, to be honest. I can't see Scott going any other way. And let's just talk about Burnley. I think credit where credit's due. They completely outshined us in all areas today. And Jay Rodriguez with a brace. And I think they're the only goals that he's got this season, and just Fulham continuing their long history of ending strikers' long goal droughts. They always seem to get goals against us. I mean, let's talk about the goals. I think it's pretty obvious who's at fault for at least two of them. Joe, I mean, do you think we'll see Hector play at all again this season after the penalty, for example? What is he thinking in that instance?
Yeah, I really just think we won't see him this season, and if we do, then it must mean that someone's got injured or suspended, sadly. And I don't know what's happened, because I saw a conversation on Twitter, and I do think something else must have happened to him, because it's not just a step up in quality. I mean, he's going up against Jay Rodriguez and Vidra today, who, whilst decent and nothing out of the ordinary, there's some better strikers than them in the Championship that he went up against last year, including in the playoff final, Watkins, Ben Rama and Mbeumo, and he dealt with them okay, and that wasn't that long ago. So I really do wonder what's happened to him. He was absent in the box for two of the goals. The penalty, well, I'm a bit confused about the penalty, because, to be honest, I thought it was a shoulder to shoulder anyway, but stupid.
It did look soft.
Nevertheless. Yeah, it was soft. But yeah, it was just, every time a ball went in the box, they all seemed to panic, and it just took me back to the start of this season and the worst parts of last season. I'm just so happy that we now have reliable defenders in Tosin, who I know did play today, but I think anyone would have struggled with Hector and Ream alongside them, Anderson and Aina.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was just glad it's over. I was just so glad it's over. But I mean, do you think, George, that this shock? I mean, Drew said on our WhatsApp group that the nadir of this season once again is coming in the FA Cup, and that this whole game had shades of Oldham. You know, like a real low point of the season today was. Do you think that there's worry that this could knock our confidence? Because we seem to be, although games haven't always gone in our favour, we seem to be putting together a pretty good run of form, and it felt like the results were coming. Do you think this could knock us back down to square one, or am I reading too much into it? I saw a little smirk on your face there.
No, it just makes you think of for the last 2 or 3 weeks, we've been going toe to toe with Liverpool, with Man United, with Man City, and we've been thinking, you know, we can do this, guys, we can do this, and then we crumble to a 3-0 against, you know, probably our direct rivals at home. I think that the good thing is that this has come with a broadly fresh side. There were 8 new players coming in, so, you know, hopefully the majority of the squad who play in the Premier League won't be too impacted by this. I think Scott's really got a job of how he turns this around, how he tries to spin it as a positive to the players. I think now we've got so many crucial games coming up, you know, think of the Brighton one, think of the West Brom game. It would have been the perfect tonic to continue riding this wave of optimism, beating a close rival in the Cup. That would be the perfect preparation. I think Scott's clearly got a big job to try and turn things around. But, you know, this is where he earns his mettle as a manager. And if there's anyone out there who can try and turn the fortunes of this club around, I really hope he's the man.
Absolutely, and I think we'll see. I mean, Suhail here, I couldn't agree with you more. Let's not, come on. It was a bad game, but we had 8 changes, and we're going to see a very different game Wednesday. And I really think we're going to take it to Brighton. This is Fulhamish Live, by the way. If you fancy, that's full-time live. If you fancy pitching in with some comments, then we'll answer your questions. We've got one here from Sam, which is something that I've been thinking recently. So Cabano always comes on, beats men, and looks lively. I don't understand why he doesn't play more. Joe, I mean, I couldn't agree more. He came on with a sort of 10 minutes to spare. The game was more or less, it was sort of gone by that, so I was not really expecting him to have much impact, but he always looks lively. He always gives 100%, and he does literally provide us something. Do you think we could see Cabana introduced a bit more in these coming games? Do you think he could do a job for us?
Well, possibly, but to be honest, I was mainly just surprised that he didn't start the game. I just sort of thought he could have easily started it instead of one of the midfielders, for example, and we could have had 3 up front, put him on one of the wings rather than wasting Anguissa, because I don't really get the point of playing Anguissa at all. That's the one that I just don't understand. Cabano always offers something. I think that he lacks quality, but he always manages to offer a bit of skill and a bit of excitement. But I do think that he is quality-wise quite poor. So I feel that if he's going to start, it needs to be in these cup games. I don't see him playing much of a part in the league because at this rate, we're going to go back to having a lot of the players that started today on the bench on Wednesday, and players like Mitrovic, even Kamara possibly, are the ones that are going to be brought off the bench. And I would rather see them brought off the bench rather than Cabano. He does look lively. I agree with Sam. But to be honest, I think the main thing from today is it showed that out of our starting 11 and a couple of others, the quality is very poor and it's championship level. And in terms of changing games and bringing players on, we're sort of struggling a bit. And if we do have any major injuries or suspensions, like we're seeing, Robinson to Bryan is probably not the most problematic of changes. But if that happens at centre-back, then we really are in a bit of a tricky situation.
Yeah, in a bit of a pickle, certainly. So we've got some more questions. George, this one's for you. Should we have made subs earlier when 2-0 to save Anguissa's legs and Lamina's? I personally agree with this one. I think the game was gone by that point. We should have made a lot more changes and sort of looked more to Wednesday. But what do you reckon?
I fully agree. I think giving Lamina the full 90 made sense. Obviously, it's been a while since he played, and now it feels like he's kind of third choice central midfielder behind Anguissa and Reed, and I think that's good and I think that's fine. So this feels like the perfect match for Lamina to get 90. But yeah, I mean, I fully agree with the comment. Like for me, I wouldn't, like Joe said, would have even started him. As soon as it was obvious that we weren't going to turn it around, there's no value in playing him. He doesn't need the minutes. He doesn't need fitness. He's got that. All that's going to happen is he's going to get tired. He's going to get the chance of an injury or a suspension. So for me, that's kind of poor game management from Scott. And yeah, I think we've got a few. I guess maybe the issue is just our lack of central midfield options. We don't have that many people to bring in. Whilst we've got what feels like 10, 15 different central defenders, we've only got really 3 central midfielders who can play the role. So again, it's a difficult one. Maybe Scott just doesn't have another option. But yeah, in an ideal world, I would have bought Anguissa off, or ideally not have played him at all.
It is, yeah. I mean, a few people in the comment section wondering whether, I mean, this is purely speculative because we don't know whether Anguissa's been struggling for match fitness because he's been suffering from COVID. I've heard a few people sort of say this before. And do you think maybe his starting today is to try and get him back up to match fitness, because he has just looked really tired? He's just not looked quite at the races. But yeah. I mean, looking forward to Wednesday, Joe. Who do you go for in the midfield? I think it's fairly obvious what we're going to do defensively, and we've already spoken about what we're going to do up top. Who would you start in the middle?
Well, I think Reed obviously goes straight back in. Mm-hmm. I'd probably stick with Reed and Anguissa, providing that in training he's okay and he's fit enough to start. He has looked a little bit sort of off the pace last few games, so maybe they were trying to get him a bit sharper today. He didn't seem to work out that way in the end, but I'm sure that was what it was meant to do. So yeah, I think I'd stick with those two. And then I feel like Loftus-Cheek will be involved again, to be honest. And I don't think that he had the worst cameo in the world when he came on. I'm not his biggest fan, but I think he tried to offer something going forward, a little bit more physicality, because I felt that they were really bossing the midfield. I don't think that it changed the game. Obviously, it was at 1-0 and we ended up losing 3-0. So there's a few agendas on Twitter that are sort of pointing at the fact that he's cost us the game again. But yeah, I think I think that's probably the 3 I would go with, sort of going back to how we have been playing in the league.
I mean, RSA, he put a beautiful ball through to Kamara, and you could argue that it was quite a tight angle for Kamara, so I think it would be harsh to say that he should have scored. He did hit the target and force a good save from the Burnley goalkeeper, who's got the most fantastic Peacock is double barrel. What is it? Peacock
Farrell.
What a name that is. But he had a
Yeah.
fantastic game. I mean, I know we didn't trouble him all too much, but he certainly was there when he needed to be. So, I mean, I suppose we covered this game to death. We lost convincingly. It was a reserve side. And I guess I want to ask, like, George, do you care like about this game? Like, do you, I think there's more positives to be taken that we've, as Joe said, that the FA Cup's taken out of our fixture list. Now we can concentrate on the task at hand. I mean, I'm not too fussed ultimately.
No, I think you'd take a third round exit against a minnow if it meant you could finish 17th. Like the main priority is the league. For me, the only value the FA Cup would give to us this season is giving us some momentum and some confidence. Like if we go into the games and we get a period of a few wins under our belts, then all the better. Obviously, today's probably knocked our confidence a little bit, and hopefully we can come back from that. But yeah, really, I don't think any of us are too bothered. I certainly don't think Scott's that bothered. And watching the players out there, I don't think any of them are clearly that bothered either. Like if you were in their shoes, I know they're professionals, but like it's cold, it's freezing. You're playing against Burnley. You've got no crowd there. You're in a competition you don't want to play. If you're in their shoes, would you give absolutely 110%? Probably not. And yeah, I don't really blame them.
Anyway, let's put it behind us, onwards and upwards, and onto. I'm not going to say it. It's a season-defining game on Wednesday. It's absolutely huge, and I think the trajectory of what happens for the rest of the season, I won't say it will be determined on the result, but it will certainly have an effect. I'm going to go on a completely different tangent now, and I was wondering whether you two could enlighten me, because I must confess, I have given up following transfer rumours. I just think it's a completely fruitless exercise, especially with the recruitment team that we've got in at the moment. There's always manner of surprise. There's always people that we're linked with that we never end up getting. Who do you think we're going to bring in towards the end of the deadline? Do you think there's anyone that you think is going to happen? Like, have you? Can you tell me of the rumours? Because I'm very naive as to this aspect. Joe, have you heard of anything?
There doesn't seem to be anything that concrete, to be honest. I mean, I'm just going on Twitter, and every now and again, it's like sort of half-assed source saying, "Oh, we're interested in this guy," but there's nothing really until yesterday that was concrete. And then striker from Spezia in Italy, I've suddenly forgotten the name,
Nzolo,
and that's the first sort of concrete link. But for a lot of the reports are saying that we're sort of going to have to loan someone in. That's what a report was saying yesterday. So I feel like if we're going to loan someone in, it's obviously going to be someone from abroad, as we've used our 2 Premier League loan spots. And I feel like we will get someone, but not a clue who it will be. I feel like it will just sort of come out of nowhere. Striker from France, somewhere like that. I know that French football's struggling a bit financially at the moment, so it's probably quite a good time. And Zola looks good. There you go. Thomas Holmes, get him in. That'll do me.
This one made me laugh just as you were saying that we're going to get a player from French League.
French League, there you go. Well, I've got to say, Anderson came from the French League and so did Tete. So I'll go with those. Our recruitment this year was a lot better.
It was.
So fingers crossed we just get someone in, because I don't want to see Cavallero up front again.
I mean, he's right, his best blessing, but yeah, I think we would agree a striker is of the utmost importance. But yeah, thanks, James. I think we'll leave it there, to be honest. I don't think there's really an awful lot more to be said. We lost 3-0. It was a bit of a pants game all round, but onwards and upwards. Looking forward to the game on Wednesday. So yeah, thank you very much for everyone who commented. And I mean, the one positive is that my new Fulham shirt that I bought off Danny Murphy's son came in the post. Only cost me a couple of grand. Is it nice? Isn't it nice that he sold it to a Fulham fan rather than... Anyway, I won't go into that. But yeah, thanks for everyone who joined us. Up the Whites. Let's bring on Wednesday. Cheers, lads.
Cheers.